Hello, everyone, and welcome to OHSCA Interviews. I'm Vasu Bharadwaj, and I'm your host for today's episode. Today, I'm happy to have with me the president and founder of the Ontario High School Conservative Association, Vincenzo Calla. So, Vincenzo, tell us a bit about yourself.
So I'm gonna try not to step on your questions too much because I know today there's a lot of talk about me, but I've been interested in politics for about 8 or 9 years now. Just sort of started watching politics, looking at politics and sort of paying attention to it. And and as the time went on, as I grew up, went in through elementary school into middle school into high school, got more and more interested in politics. I got involved in campaigns, and then I started OHSCA in 2020, exactly 2 years ago, October 5th, 2020. And so from there, I expanded OHSCA. I had 55 interviews. This is the 56th and the first that I'm not the host in. You're the host. And yeah, so I continued on that, and now is the time that I'm in university now. I'm studying history and political science at the University of Ottawa, joint honors, and today's my last day at OHSCA, October 5th, 2022, and looking forward to this chance to reflect.
Well, I know this journey has been great for you. Hearing that you got involved in politics at such a young age show that people are becoming much more informed and advocating of what they believe in. And to be honest, it's going to be really hard to pick up from the master being on the other side of the camera. But well, I have to say thank you, Vincenzo, for your time, and thank you for joining us. So we are going to start off the interview with our question and answer segment. These questions are asked by members of our high school team and me. So the first one is, at what age did you start your interest in politics, and how has that sprouted you into becoming a conservative today?
So I started paying attention to politics really well, I can think of remembering politics for the longest time, like remembering politics when I was at a young age, sort of seeing people coming to the door, not really knowing who they were, but hearing people in the newspaper. I was always interested in the news, watched the news growing up, the 6 o'clock news, and again, sort of like what I said, the first time I sort of started paying attention to politics was in 2014. I was 10 years old. I was in grade 4. There was a provincial election at that time. Kathleen Wynne had recently become leader of the Ontario Liberal Party, and this was her first election as leader since Dalton McGuinty had resigned. And she was facing Tim Hudak, who was the leader of the PCs at the time. Um, I had a local member of parliament who was a conservative, the Honorable Lisa MacLeod. She's still our MPP to this day. And so I sort of paid attention to that. So I sort of saw her signs around. And so I paid attention through there. My teacher showed us the campaign videos of the leaders in class. And he taught us about the election and why it was important and that sort of thing. And I really liked it. I really found it interesting, and I liked how you could get involved through there. So from there, I sort of started paying more attention to politics, and I sort of started to form my views. When I went to grade 5, obviously that's in the Ontario system. Grade 5 is when you really start to take a dive into politics and government. So at that point, it was about 2014, 2015. So we know what happened in 2015. But in the lead up to that, I was in grade 5. So I sort of like paid attention. Harper was still prime minister. I sort of liked seeing what he sort of did. And during the election, it was interesting to watch. It was my first election that I really watched after 2014, the first federal election. And we know what happened in 2015. Trudeau won a majority. And over that time, as the Conservatives have been in the opposition, I sort of started to grow to like the Conservatives and found a home in the party.
Well, it's very nice to hear that you, at a young age, you became passionate about what the conservatives were doing. And is there any like specific policy or like anything that you're interested in that the conservatives were advocating slash sticking up for?
Well, I was really young, and the first like memories I remember of the Harper government was probably Canada's Economic Action Plan, because if the viewers know, a lot of the viewers know, and a lot of the guests we've had on this show, Lisa Raitt, um, Pierre Poilievre, who's the leader now, but he was in the Harper government. A bunch of the MPs were part of that government, and remember Jim Flaherty's action plan, the little arrows, the green and blue arrows. And I really found that interesting. I didn't know much about it, but I sort of saw the economic action plan billboards on buses and at train stations and that sort of thing. And I found it interesting that the government was not only investing that sort of thing. I didn't fully understand it, but to a point I understood that they're investing in trains and in buildings and that sort of thing, and that they were making it known that they were that they were investing in that. I found that interesting, and again, the little blue and green arrows sort of piqued my interest as a young kid.
Well, that's definitely an interesting story, but let's move on to our next question. So this comes from me as well. And what motivated you to start the OHSCA?
Okay, so basically, in 2020, there was the leadership race. So it was McKay, O'Toole, Lewis, and Sloan. So that's when I really started to pay attention in terms of like party politics on the federal level. I had been actively paying attention and that sort of thing to the 2018 election, the Ontario provincial election. And I was quite interested in that and went to events and that sort of thing in 2018. I was in grade 8 at that point. So I went around and I paid attention very closely to provincial politics from 2018 to 2020 or so. Right into the teacher strikes that happened right before the lockdown of COVID in 2020. And then during the leadership race, the federal conservative leadership race, I started to pay attention, sort of saw who I liked, who I didn't like, that sort of thing. And after the leadership race, I really noticed there really isn't a way for young conservatives to make their voice truly heard. Um, on the provincial level, there was youth wings and that sort of thing, but they weren't always the easiest to easily accessible. So I wanted to make something that would be sort of accessible. So I sort of talked with some people and tried something. That thing didn't really work. But then I thought about how about I do something for high school students? I noticed during the leadership election, there was you could vote at 14 in the leadership race as a high school student, as a young high school student, grade 8 going into grade 9, but you couldn't vote in general elections, yet you were still able to vote in the leadership race. So I thought that's a critical age group that I'm a part of that can have their say, but they're not really listened to. They don't have an opportunity to have their say as much unless it's a leadership race. So I started OHSCA in hopes that I would pique some interest. And some people started joining, and I was very excited that people were interested in this. Some people just sort of like were interested. I started a Twitter account, Instagram. It was all online. It was all online at the beginning because it was November 2020, October, November 2020. I think we were in between lockdowns at that point and almost went into another one, I believe. So I did that and started to get young people involved, and we put our heads together and said, what can we do to get people involved? So in 2020, there had been a by-election in York Center. Julius Tiangson was the conservative candidate, and he came with a margin of about 700 votes. He didn't win, but only by about 700 votes. So we decided, hey, how about we like do some sort of like call with him or something like that. And OHSCA Interviews was born. We had an interview with him. It was really good. And then the next episode we had Jermaine Chambers, and then after that Matthias Vanderlee. So at this point they were all not even candidates yet. They were running for the nomination for their candidacy. And then episode 4 we had our first elected official, Toby Barrett, longtime MPP for Haldeman Norfolk. He is no longer, he's retired now, But and then after that, we had Melissa Landsman, who was also just running for the nomination for the Conservative candidacy in Thornhill. She wasn't even the candidate yet. She was running for the nomination against a couple of others. She graciously joined us. We had a fantastic information pass, so I'm sure you'll include all of these links up in the banner up top. But yeah, so we had great conversations with all these people, and then it just started growing and growing and growing. And episode 9, I believe, we had the Honorable Andrew Scheer on, who was the former leader, and then we had Candace Bergen on, who was deputy at that point, and we just started to gain more interest, and we became sort of this provincially recognized, nationally recognized by many MPs group, and yeah, so it was really good. And as they say, the rest is history. We're sitting here today, and episode 56.
I have to say, it's definitely inspiring to hear your story. Like from what you started this with to what it has become. Like recently, we just interviewed the leader of the Conservative Party, the leader of the opposition, right, Pierre Polyev, and it's all because of your hard work and what you've done with this organization. And that's what one of the reasons that motivated me to join as well. I remember about a year and a half ago, I said, well, I'm a high school conservative. I don't have much of a say. This is a platform which I can use to advocate for my views. And you've really transformed it into something special today.
Well, that's definitely, and I thank you. You know, it's great to have you in the group, and you were on that call with Pierre. At that point, it was a tough leadership race, but now he came out victorious. I was at the conference a couple weeks ago, the event, and there was a real sense of unity there. So it'll be interesting to see as time goes on. Pierre's leadership role, and I'm sure people will go watch that interview after this one, hopefully.
Yeah, we can always put it in the information card above. And but let's move on to our next question. So, how has your political views and affiliations affected your life since you became public about them?
So that's interesting. So at first it was a little rough. Being a conservative, a young conservative, isn't always easy.
Yeah,
But as time went on, I really started to form my own path. I formed my path. I said, hey, this is the way it is. I'm gonna do what I can to make myself more involved. And really what I did was I paid attention to what was going on. I watched Question Period. I had these calls with MPPs and MPs and candidates and all that. And all of them collectively have helped me really find who I have been, who I am the in politics, really. And through the great work of so many people. Again, Melissa Landsman, like Melissa Landsman really was a strong figure who stood out to me. She was always there if I had a question. I reached out to her multiple times. She joined us on the show very early, and yeah, now she's deputy leader of the party. And it's because of people like Melissa, people like just everybody that I've had on the show. It's been so great. People like Michelle Ferreri, people like Carrie Lynn Finley, people like there's too many to name, too many people to name. But all these great people, all these great MPs that joined us, that joined me, really helped me formulate my path, and it made me feel confident about the decision I made on what party to support. Um, at the beginning, it was, again, like I said, a little rough, but being public about it, having the support of all these great people has made it a lot easier.
I have to say, I completely agree with you. Like becoming public about your opinions, especially as a young conservative, since there's like a social stigma around being young and being conservative, since a lot of people, especially at my age group, are more towards the left and stuff. So it's definitely you can say a unique group, but you know, it's it's definitely special. So moving on to our last segment, uh, called Advice for the Next Generation, where we're going to be talking about youth involvement in politics and more. So, what should young high school conservatives do in order to get more politically active? And what is one piece of advice you would like to give them?
So first off, foremost, join OHSCA. I'm not just saying that because we want more members, and I mean that's beyond me. Now it's up to you and the new party leadership to recruit new members and see where you're gonna go with OHSCA in this journey. But yeah, join OHSCA, and even beyond that, get involved in politics through local campaigns. Um, get involved on your local federal conservative campaigns. Um, we don't know when the next election is. Could be in 2025 as scheduled, or it could be in 2 years from now or 2 months from now. Who knows what happens, what's going to happen with the federal government and elections. So yeah, continue on that. Um, get involved if you have a local conservative MP or MPP. Go to their events, just meet them, stay engaged in conversations. And in Ontario right now, there are local elections. Local elections obviously are nonpartisan, but find a candidate that you like. Find a candidate that you like, that you support, and call them up. Call them, say, hey, I'm interested in politics. Maybe I want to come door knock with you. Maybe I just want to stuff envelopes, or just have a conversation with them and find out what they're about, and get involved that way.
And
So
the great thing about that is you can get volunteer hours while doing it if
mhm.
you're in high school, and you get to build the connections.
Oh, for sure. And the perfect way to describe that is um my interview with Lisa Raitt that I had earlier this year for OHSCA. Um, she said it perfectly. She talked about the importance of getting involved as a young person in politics. She said it much more better than I'm gonna say it right now. So Vasu, if you could throw that in the link above as well. People have a long watch list after this one, but it's okay. But if I could suggest any episode, any clip of any interview of any episode, it would be that clip of Advice to the Next Generation with Lisa Raitt, where she said, get involved in your campaign. They don't respond, go to their campaign office, knock on the door, ask them, say, how can I help? If they can't, if they don't want the help, or all campaigns want help, but if they're unresponsive, go to another riding. There are 338 ridings in this country. Surely one will take you. Get involved there. Talk with them. You meet people, you make connections, you have fun stories and lifelong memories. The other Lisa Thompson, when we had her on last year, talked about her stories as a young person in politics, just putting up lawn signs, and some fun stories just about getting out there and being with her peers. And it was just so great. And yeah, just get involved in your campaigns, join OHSCA, and don't be afraid to start the conversation.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. And working on a few campaigns myself, I can tell you that it's some of the most fun you'll ever have. So we're gonna wrap it up here. So thank you, Vincenzo, for your time today. We really appreciate you being with us, and we wish you well in the future.
Thanks, Vasu, so much for having me. It was an honor being on the other end of an interview today, and thank you.
Well, and that's it. We hope you enjoyed today's interview. You can look for more videos coming soon. Make sure to follow all of our social media accounts at Ontario HS Cons for more info about this interview and for more great content. For our YouTube videos, viewers, make sure to like this video, subscribe to our channel, and don't forget to click the notification bell so you never miss a video.